fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Ralph, and this week I'm going to feature a build here of a Fox body Mustang. This being the first year of the Fox bodies, this is a 79, and not only that, it's also the 79 official pace car, replica of course. I didn't build the actual pace car, but there are some differences. But when it came to the 79 Mustang, Ford produced something like 340,000 of them. I mean, they cranked them out. It was a hot seller and quite a success. There were some things that they had done with the car, and the official pace car here, when they produced these, they're somewhat rare, but not really rare when it comes to them. With a little over 10,000 produced, it was like 10,400 and something. Sorry, I had brushed up on my numbers, but not exactly. But you know, these were to me a striking car. I just really love this color combo, silver with the burnt orange and red stripe and lettering here, and just the way it's laid out on this car. It's just, to me, it's very striking. Plus, I had a friend that actually had one in high school in like 1991, 92, and I remember that car fondly, and riding around in it a little bit too. So it was a pretty cool car. Plus, since I still had the box, I had to throw the box up in the background here. When it came to the car, there were a few options, but not too many. When you ordered the pace car or bought the pace car, they all came in this color combination, these wheels and everything. Your really only options was which motor you got. There were two motors available, the 5-liter V8 engine, of course, and also a turbo 4-cylinder that was carbureted but turbocharged. And Ford was really pushing the 4-cylinder turbo motor, so they were really trying to advertise that one. But if you didn't want that one, you can step up or step to the V8. It's kind of hard to say step up or down. In my opinion, stepping up to the V8. And most of them you see today are the V8s. There's kind of a reason to that, but when it comes to the actual cars, the 4-cylinder was actually more commonly produced. And the turbo 4-cylinder only came with the 4-speed manual tranny. No automatic available behind that, but that's because it was all horsepower and no torque. That was the issue with that one. But it also got pretty good fuel economy. And I think that's one of the two selling points of it. The other selling point I'll get to, the V8, you could get an automatic behind it or a manual tranny. So the V8 was available with both, but it produced a bit more torque, so an automatic was really not an issue with that one. But the staggering part of it is the 4-cylinder, there were 5,800 of those made of the 10,000, and the V8s, the automatic, there were 2,100 of those made, so the V8 automatic is the rarest, and then 2,400 V8 4-speed cars. Now the 5-speed wasn't available yet in the 79s. Here's what I think did it in, or what one of the big selling points is. The horsepower numbers. The V8 car made 140 horsepower. The 4-cylinder engine made 139 horsepower. Those were their factory ratings. So with the 1 horsepower difference, you can kind of understand, okay, I can get the same amount of power and I can get the fuel economy. The issue that turned out later is the 4-cylinder engines really didn't have, they were performers, they could handle it, but they didn't have the longevity that the V8 had. The V8 really wasn't stressed, and those things were just kind of bulletproof. But the 4-cylinders were kind of high-strung. They produced just as much power and everything, but a little more high-strung. So those turbos were kind of notorious for falling apart. Not really destroying the motor, but falling apart, and many of them got converted into naturally aspirated 4-cylinders and really dropped the power. And many of them were actually converted over to V8s, as finding a V8 donor car was becoming pretty easy. So a lot of them have been V8 swapped if they were born with the 4-cylinder. So kind of interesting that they went through all of that. And a few other things that came along with the pace car. The sunroof. All the cars got the sunroof, and it came with these Recaro bucket seats, which the seats are really cool, and an interesting pattern on it. But when it came to the real pace car, the real pace car had T-tops. T-tops were not available in the Mustang for 79, and I'm really not sure T-tops were available in the Mustang at all in the Fox body, but not 100% sure there. The pace car, it had T-tops, and the Pace Car had a V8 engine, but it did not have the factory V8 engine. It had a Jack Roush prepped and built small block V8 in it. And don't know the specs on that particular engine or the full-on details of the build. I really didn't look into that one. I do know that the actual Pace Car also had upgraded brakes behind the wheels, not the factory brakes, so they could slow it down and speed it up. And besides the T-tops, which I understand the T-tops were to help show off the interior so that you can see the driver and in the interior while it was pacing the race as well, along with the required lights and stuff like that. Also in the real car, it has these TRX wheels, which the model kit of course has. Those are metric. They're not 16 inch, they're not 15 inch, they're actually a metric size wheel, and getting tires to them is a royal pain. And my buddy had them on there, and they were, even back then, they were kind of an issue to get, and he eventually just put on later Mustang wheels, which these are 4-lug, and he just ended up getting a set of like 89 V8 wheels, which I didn't like as much. But that's, you know, what was available, and that's, you know, high school budgets. What do you expect? So buy something like that. So we'll get this away, and I'll show you more of the actual build here. Alright, so this one, I actually built this back in 2010, so it's kind of an older build for me, and it's actually the only Fox body that I currently have built, which is kind of funny. You know, when I was younger and in high school, I actually built a 92 convertible, built it white, had that. I don't know what happened to that one, but it's long gone. And I've got a couple of others, but this is the only one I actually built, and it's back in 2010. Now, the Monogram kit was molded in color, but I painted this because there are some swirls and stuff in it that you could see. So I actually painted this one and then put the decals on it. My decals were not in good shape, so some of these are paint, and the rest of them are actually decals. But I had to track down Fred Cady decals and use those, which his decals really pop. That orange and the red, they really pop, and then they're great decals. Problem is they're very hard to find. Even back in 2010, I had a hard time finding 2 sets. I had some that broke and tore, and so I had to buy 2 sets and to build this car. You know, the options might be a little bit better now. I'm not sure who else is reproducing the decals now, but back then in 2010, that's what I had to do and find. But I got them on there, and the build came out awesome. Now, I also had a gentleman that was doing these on Scale Auto, and he had come up with a seat pattern, and he had made the decals for the seat pattern, and he was selling those. So when I had my build and I wasn't done yet, and they popped up, I'm like, dude, I'd like to get a set of those. So he sold me a set of his decals. I'm sorry I don't remember his name. I know I had it written down or jotted down somewhere. I could easily, you know, I can't anymore, but it was on Scale Auto's forum, but that forum is now gone, where if you go into the archives you could find it, but it's long gone. So unfortunately I don't have the information there either. But he had made those decals, and I don't know how many of them he sold, but they came out awesome, and they just really brought it out. So this is mostly box stock other than the decals and the seats, and I also modified the seats. So actually, if you can see it here, you can see right through it. There's a photo etch screen mesh right there through the things. The seats come molded closed and with a mesh pattern in there, but I actually took the ground those out and actually put a mesh in there, and it came out awesome. Matter of fact, that other, what's in that box is actually a convertible here, which I have right here. So that's going to get eventually finished, but I got the seat out of it because I did the same thing to those seats. Even though I haven't finished this model, I did the same mod back then. So here's a seat that's actually done here, if it'll focus on it. There you go, you can see the screen. So I ground out the entire screen and just made a loop out of it. Then once that was done, I took my razor saw and cut it this way, and then I could slide the screen in there, glue the screen with super glue, and then just file it and get the ends all done so it's got a nice clean center section, and the screen is in there, and it came out awesome. And you know, once I get it painted, it'll look even better, especially on the convertible. which it's an 83 convertible, but I'm turning it into an 84 20th anniversary GT350, which I think is kind of funny that it's an 84 20th anniversary when the real car, the 20th anniversary would be 85, because the Shelby GT350 was not really available in 64. It was a 65. Well, all the Mustangs were technically 65s. No 64 and a half by VIN number. But anyway, that's a debate and a piece of trivia. But really enjoyed building these, and let me show you more of this one. I hadn't shown you the engine yet. Let's get the hood off. So there's the V8 engine that's given to you in the kit. And on the real car, the air cleaner is painted silver. It's not really chrome. So I just kind of dressed it up as it was. I really didn't go to town detailing it. But I did paint the radiator through the screen there, so you can see the radiator through the front, which is molded open and looks really good there. I love the spoiler air dam that's on these. There's the TRX wheels, which at the time I had to have those re-chromed. They were kind of more of a dull silver. Now they're a bit more chrome. And I like the way the back came out on this with a little bit of detailing. And then clean up the rear window where you can really see those rear seat decals. And then here's the underside. It's got the manual tranny in it, and then the single exhaust and all the Fox body stuff. But you know, these cars are really getting to their prime and really showing the potential of what these cars can do. And then I just love the hood that comes up a little bit, kind of a cowl, and then just the Mustang stripe package and everything that's on this car. Just a very striking color combination and really pops. And when it comes to the pace car, this is actually the second time the Mustang paced the Indy 500. First time being in 64. And this was like the first pace car model that I actually built. I got a few now, but this is like the first one. And really enjoyed the build. Pretty easy kits to build. Really didn't do a whole lot of modifications to them. You can kind of see the gauges there too. But didn't really do too much to it. But they just look great right out of the box. And you know, I've got to finish that convertible that's in my stalled pile. And then the only other one that I've got is one of the 93 Cobras. One of those Monogram kits, Revell Monogram. And I'd like to build that one. That car it's just a good looking car, and this being the first year of the Fox and that being the last year of the Fox is kind of like my bookends. I gotta have those two. Kind of missed that 92 convertible I built. You know, if I run into one of those kits really cheap and you know the money's burning a hole in my pocket, I'll probably pick one up. That'll do it for this one. So thank you for tuning in and subscribing and all your comments. I really appreciate all of that. And please hit that subscribe and bell button. You can get all my latest uploads. And leave a comment and everything. I really do appreciate them, and I reply and really do enjoy those. So thank you, and you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next Saturday.